Hey, you guys. So happy Wednesday, YouTube. It is hump day. So I wanted to get on here today to talk to you all just about a quick life insurance myth. You'll see that in the description, right? Life insurance myth about children's policies. We get this all the time. It's two things I wanted to touch base on. Is a lot of times people think that buying insurance for their children is like, well, three things. It's like prophesying their death, right? But it's not death insurance, it's life insurance, meaning they can use it while they're alive. Yes, it does have a death benefit as a key component, but they can use this insurance while they're in the land of the living, right? And so the other myth that people have about life insurance is they should only buy the policy that their great grandmother bought for them and their grandmother bought for them and their parent bought for them, but they haven't done the research to see, well, what is the value in that policy other than familiarity, right? And we've all been guilty of it. Right, we buy those products and we buy those insurances for our children because we're like, that's just what's always been in our family. We don't know if it pays out well. We don't know if it has any investment components. We often, I don't want to say everyone, but many people oftentimes don't know if there's an asset associated with it. And a lot of times they don't even know how to put their hands on their policies, right? I meet with 90% of the people I meet with, they can't put their hands on their actual physical policies, whether it be a work policy, whether it be their children's policy, whether it be their parents' policy. They literally are not able to put their hands on it. So today we're just going to talk about life insurance myths as it relates to children's whole life. So there's 5 things I want to share with you that are a blessing and a benefit to having a whole life policy on your child who is under the age of 17, right? So the children's policies normally will stop or cut off at a certain age. The one that I love the most, I won't tell you who it is. You got to call me to schedule an appointment. I'm licensed in multiple states. I can help you and your family. I put my phone number in the chat, and I also put one of the companies that I write with in the chat as well, because you can click on that link and click request a quote, and then we can talk from there about the different policies that are available. So with children's whole life, what is really awesome about them is, number one, they grow in value, right? That's a huge opportunity for your child. As they grow up, that life insurance policy is growing with them. And those policies start from age 0. So in other words, when your baby is 14 days old, you can get insurance coverage on your 14-day-old baby that will grow with them all the way until age 120. The other second part that's awesome about children's whole life products is that, let's say you're paying $8 for them right now, right? As a 14-day-old, I'm just making that price up. It's very inexpensive, right? But as a 14-day-old, as a 6-month-old, as a 2-year-old, as a 5-year-old, as a 10-year-old, you're going to be paying anywhere from $6 up to $20 a month, right? Depending on the amount of coverage that you get. And you can get up to, I think it's $50,000 in coverage, right? So the blessing of that is if you're only paying $4, $6, $8, $11, $20 when they're under the age of 17, guess what? When they're 55, they're paying that same amount. When they're 25, they're paying that same amount. So that policy can grow with them. The premium never changes. The face values change, but for the good. And I'm going to tell you why. So as long as that policy stays in place, it never lapses. Your child you can turn it over to your child when they hit 21 or the age of responsibility where you feel like they can either take over payment or they can manage holding on to and keeping up with their policy, right? You can turn it over to them and they're always going to pay the same amount. It's such a blessing. The third thing that's a really incredible blessing to your children. Today, we're talking about life insurance myths with children's whole life plans, right? The third thing that's a value and a benefit to your child that you're able to get this coverage on is that they can borrow against the policy in the future. Now, that's not the only reason you want to get the policy, but isn't that a great reason to get the policy? So when you hear people talking about being their own bank or setting children up to be their own bank, this is what they're talking about. Not always, but it could be a universal life product, but we're only talking about whole life. This is what you want for your children. Right. So that means that as they get older, if they need to borrow money for their first home, they need to borrow money as a deposit or down payment for their new car. They need to borrow money for their first apartment. they need to use the money for whatever reason they want to use it for. They can go and borrow money against their whole life policy, right? And not have to pay it back. But what it does is it does decrease from the face value of the policy. So for example, if they have a $30,000 policy and they want to take out $5,000, if it has that much in it at the time they go to use it, then now they only have a $25,000 face value unless they pay that $5,000 back to themselves. But here it is that they're borrowing money from themselves. They're not going to the bank. It's not tied to a credit search. It's not tied to whether or not they can afford to pay it back. They are borrowing their own money. Such a blessing, right? So that's the third thing that's really great. The fourth thing that's really great about the proper children's whole life product, and I can help you with that for your children and your grandchildren, right, is that they're guaranteed insurability with one of the companies that we work with. So let's say that you get this product for them at 14 days old and they have that product all the way through their young adult years, right? The policy doesn't lapse, their coverage stays in place. Then something happens where there's a childhood illness, right? That could affect their ability to be insurable later in life. Well, now because you already have this policy with this company, then when you want to go get more insurance on the child, like maybe a term product or a return of premium product, right? A universal life product or any other product that you want to get on the child, guess what? They're guaranteed insurability because they already have a policy with this company. Everything's already in place. So now they don't have to go improve their good health later in life if and when something happens to them that they weren't expecting as it relates to their health. So those are some myths about life insurance, right? It's not true that it's only for death. You can borrow against the policy. They can be their own bank. You can get insurance on your young child for starting at 14 days old up to age 17 with one company. And then there's another company that the age goes a little bit longer. So very affordable, right? Oh, the fifth thing I forgot to tell you. So when your child turns 21, right, or there's some life event that takes place, but normally it's when they turn 21, the amount of the face value that you purchased for your child, let's say it was $30,000, doubles to $60,000 for no additional premiums, no upfront costs. The face value doubles to $60,000. And guess what? That premium, if they were paying $8, stays the same. They were paying $12, stays the same. And so don't just focus on putting in place for your children the same product that you had as a child, right? I don't want to name them because I don't want to get in trouble, and I don't want to and I'm not dogging out another company. I'm saying make a comparison. So call me and let's do an insurance comparison. You don't need to get rid of what you already have. You can add to what you have very inexpensively. So a children's policy, the one I'm talking about, starts at age 14 days old. That's considered zero age, 14 days old, up to age 17 years old. And you may also say, well, why do I need insurance on my child? My children aren't going to die. That's not what this is about. I'm believing God, my children live a long life. That's the promise of God, right? Which is yes and amen. He promised us with a long life. But let's say that something happens to the child accidentally, right? At least it's covered, right? And then no one has to go do a GoFundMe. No one has to figure out how they're going to pay for it. You have this inexpensive policy that serves multiple purposes, that is for your child while they're in the land of the living, that they can use while they're alive. So again, my phone number, I'm Garlinda Price. Again, I'm licensed in multiple states. I work for you because I'm a broker. That means that I can broker a great insurance policy according to your budget, your needs, customize it for you and your family. And I don't represent any one carrier, and I'm not an employee of any one carrier. I'm an independent contractor. My phone number, if you want to call me and or text to schedule an appointment, is 910-494-7798. It's also in the description box for this video. And my website, which is the Funeral Advantage agent.com/Garlinda Price. You can also click request a quote there. And when you go to request a quote there, that'll send me your information. And it's not just about funeral expense or funeral advantage, but we can use that as a way to connect because you put your information in. So God bless you guys. I look forward to serving you and your family, and I count it an honor. Talk to you soon.